Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny comes out 1 week from today. As you may or may not know, I occasionally cover Indy on this channel. I love the franchise and the characters, so to celebrate his final adventure, we'll be talking all things Indy for the next week or so. Our regular Star Wars videos will be back once the movie is out, but probably along with a few more Indy videos covering the fifth and final movie. But today, we're talking about everything you need to know to prepare for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I'm not seeing the movie until Thursday, so everything here is from officially released marketing. I wouldn't consider that a spoiler, but if you're wanting to go into the movie completely blind, here is your warning. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny marks the first Indy movie not directed by Steven Spielberg. He and George Lucas both served as executive producers, but James Mangold stepped in as the film's director. He's probably best known these days for the excellent X-Men movie Logan, which is also about a hero's final adventure. Kind of. Deadpool 3 might change that somehow. Regardless, that movie rocks, and so does 3:10 to Yuma, which is also a great movie about a hero's final days. I sure hope Indy doesn't die in this one. The movie takes place in 1969, the same year as the first moon landing. In fact, we can see several references to that event, and one of the action set pieces of the film is said to take place during a ticker tape parade for the astronauts of Apollo 11. That places Indy's age at 70, and of course he believes his adventuring days are far behind him. He is pulled back into that world thanks to his goddaughter, Helena Shaw, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. A clip shown at Star Wars Celebration suggests she is steeped in debt and is hoping for a huge archaeological payday by, I assume, acquiring and selling the Dial of Destiny. According to James Mangold himself, the dial is based on a real-world device called the Antikythera mechanism. Mangold says it was rumored to be an invention by Archimedes and has been speculated to be a kind of time compass. In reality, it was an astronomical device used for predicting the movements of the moon. I've got a video coming up all about the real machine, which was incredibly complex for its time. But for the movie, it definitely sounds like it could be a sort of time travel device. The Antikythera mechanism was discovered in a shipwreck in the early 1900s. The trailers for Indy 5 have shown some underwater scenes, so that fact may remain consistent. Also after the dial is former Nazi Jürgen Voller, played by Mads Mikkelsen, who was involved in the Apollo missions to the moon. He sounds like a Werner von Braun type character, a real-world figure who was also a Nazi scientist taken into the United States to help win the space race against the Soviets during the Cold War. I think that's a pretty brilliant way to bring Nazis back into the story, and I'm sure it's something that wouldn't sit well with Indy, as well it shouldn't. People who work with Nazis in the Indiana Jones films don't tend to benefit in the long term. Boyd Holbrook plays Kleber, who is described as a kind of attack dog for Voller. I imagine he will fill the shoes of characters like Todt or Vogel in previous films. We know Indy has some history with Voller, as the trailers have shown footage from the prologue of the film where Harrison Ford will be de-aged to return to the 1944 version of the character. That's where we meet Helena's father, Basil Shaw, played by Toby Jones. This part of the adventure will supposedly be connected with the discovery of the Dial of Destiny. Another ally of Indy's this time around is Ronaldo, played by Antonio Banderas. The actor said, "My character is very little. It's almost a cameo. He's just a friend of Indiana's character, and he's looking for him because he needs something from his friend. But he just takes up very little time of the movie. But I'm very happy to be part of a saga that is of the history of motion pictures, obviously." I expect his role to be about the size of Katanga's in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Ronaldo is described as a sailor and diver, so he may have been involved in the Dial's underwater discovery. I want to point out that the cast for the film lists Olivier Richters as a character known as Hawk. I am completely speculating here, but I think he will fill the shoes of the Pat Roach-style character, the massive, strong henchman Indy always has to overcome, like the German mechanic in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm hopeful and glad to see that tradition is likely continuing. We also know we'll see at least one familiar face returning in the form of John Rhys-Davies' fan-favorite character, Sala. I am of course happy to see him return, but I'm curious to know if we'll see or hear anything about Marion Ravenwood, or Mutt. What has become of Indy's family? Marion is another fan-favorite character. I wouldn't say the same about Mutt, but I do think it would be weird not to acknowledge his existence. I have no idea if we'll see either of them, but Karen Allen was at the premiere, so my fingers are crossed. Ke-Huy Quan was also there. I'm not expecting a short round appearance, but I would welcome that too. But I think that's everything you need to know about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I've got a video on the dial itself on the way, as well as some more Indy videos answering questions I've always had myself. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to the channel for mostly Star Wars content, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and remember, it's not the years, it's the mileage.